happy Independence Day. I think it's the 4th of July. That's what it is, isn't it? For all our American friends out there. Woohoo! Hang on a sec. They're all going to think I'm nuts again. Woohoo! Oh, how good is this? Happy 4th of July, everyone. We just about run out of these now. Boy, that sent the autofocus probably psycho. I'm going to make sure, let me cool these down. So I hope you have a wonderful, or I hope you've had a wonderful day, all of our American friends, no matter where you are. We obviously don't have the 4th of July here, but I was thinking about you guys. So I thought I'd just have some sparklers. So I'm going to go into the chat just in a second. Just let me put these down. Got to make sure they're not hot. No, they're not. Ooh. So I hope you've had all a wonderful day. It's Friday here. What are we on? We're on the, well, it's the 5th of July here. As you know, us Aussies are in the future. So great to see you. So let's pop in the chat and see who's here. We are in pre-show. Actually, I better start the timer. How far have we been in? 24 seconds. It's pretty close. All right, so let's have a look who's here. So say hi if you are in the chat. We've got around about 5 minutes until we start the show, guys. So let's see who's popping in. Let me just move this down. We've got stacks of stuff to talk about today too. There's been stacks of exciting rumours. So bear with me on that. Now, if you don't want to watch this part of the show, I will put the timeline down later if you're popping in late or watching it later on. So you can skip to the story that you're interested in. This is just part of a pre-show though. So let's see who's here. So Jamie's here. He was here nice and early. Stuart. G'day, Stuart. Ray's first time watching you live. So great to see you in here, Ray. Stephen's also saying hi. Bad Habit saying hey. Stephen says, coffee sounds good. I'll have one too, mate. So cheers, everyone. It'll be a while again before I have the other coffee with you. Ray says, thanks, David. 12:13 a.m. here. Great to catch you live, but I think he's going to be watching it later on as it's so late. Ben said, good afternoon from Texas. G'day, Ben. Eli's saying hello. Gilbert, hello, everyone. Happy 4th of July to all the Americans in here. MPH Photography says, morning from Adelaide. Carl says, hello, David and friends. Matthew says, hi to everyone from Phoenix, Arizona. G'day, Gerald. Good to see you're here. Happy 4th of July, Independence Day in the USA. What else have we got? Beers Channel says, hello from Halle, Belgium. Gilbert's just saying happy 4th of July to everyone. Ray says, haha. Gerald says, thanks so much for the fireworks. Sparklers. Speller says, hey Everyone. David says, thanks for the 4th of July shout out, David. Well, you guys mean a lot to me, and I really mean that. David says, laugh out loud. David, you lunatic. Hell yeah, David. Anything to light sparklers or fireworks, I'll be in on it. Evening all. Happy 4th of July over the big pond. Ario says, hi everyone, nice show, David. Laugh out loud. Fatamix said, oh geez, David trying to burn the studio. Yeah, I know, there is. Oh, no, I think the smoke alarm's in the other part of the studio. I never thought about that, actually. Carl says, thank you, David. Kia says, hey, just in time to see you sparkling. What else have we got? It's jumped again. Hate that. Billy said, great to catch a live show. Steve said, good morning. Chris said, hello, David. Hot day and earthquake. Yeah, no, good day for you guys over there. No one was hurt, though, so that's great news, isn't it? Malcolm said, wait, what? I caught a live broadcast. I know, Malcolm. Tony says, hi. Three Trees is saying hi. Sean says, howdy, David. Bad Habit says, hey, Tony. He's talking to someone else. Kia says, how was the test results from your head? Oh, good. Yeah, no, it wasn't cancer, so that was great news. Yeah, thanks for asking about that. It was just, what did they say it was? It was just a cyst or something that they took out. I have had one up a little bit further there. It was a squamous cell carcinoma, so I have had one already. So I was sure that was going to be one as well, but it was clear. So yeah, I was very, very happy about that. Means I don't have to go back and get another cut done, so which is great. Ray said, I'll start the bets that David's doorbell rings during the show. I am expecting a couple of things, but whether it goes today. But Kerry's here today, so she's got a day off. So she'll be answering the door if it rings. Well, at least I hope she's not going out. Hi from Indonesia. Steve said, g'day. Tony said, smash that like boil, I think. You're in the future and upside down. I know we are, Eric. That's so true. Great crowd. We always have a great crowd now. This is one of the best, I think, groups of chat. I mean, I know I'm running this, but just the chat we have is amazing now here. It's fantastic, and I don't think there's anything quite like it. So it's just so good. Like I said, it's just like a bunch of mates. And Thomas said, greetings. Rex said, enjoy your show. Thank you so much, Rex. Kevin says, hello, David. It's been a while since I've watched. Well, good to see you back in here, Kevin. Annie said, good morning. Good morning, Annie. Good to see you in here. Gertz said, is the live show with Aaron? No. The problem was Aaron has been on holidays, so it'll be back on next week. Well, I'm hoping he's back by next week, so we should be right by next week back on. So yeah, it's just that he's been away. He's at Costa Rica or somewhere like that. I can't remember, but he's away with his wife, beautiful wife. So we should be back on next week. Gerald said, yes, we had an earthquake in California, doing it now, so you'll be okay in February. Kerry said, oh, I hope we don't have one when we're there. I laughed. Hi from more in the future in New Zealand. You're right, Cody. You're even more in the future than we are. John says, hi from the UK. It's just Friday here, nearly 12:30 in the morning. Langston says, hello from Los Angeles, not in the traffic this week. That's good to see you're actually not in the car, Langston. Hello from Kiev, Ukraine. It just shows how far and wide now this channel has got, and I really appreciate you guys being here from all around the world. Keith said, greetings from Villas, Florida. Sam said, happy Treason Day to US people. I'm not sure what that means. Where are we? Where were we? I hate it when it jumps like that. It drives me nuts. Jess said, good evening, 1:30 in the Netherlands. Andrew said, hi, David. Limunk said, nice. Prepare Kerry for the Sony announcements. Oh, I'll be popping on like this again. I'm going to talk about that as my first story in a few minutes, so be prepared. Robert said, hi, David, is this really is live? Yes, it certainly is live. Langston said, clearly that means Photomix should get host in his absence. Yeah, I probably should have, shouldn't I? Brett says, hello as well. So we've got stacks on there. Just a quick thing too, guys. If you haven't followed us in the photography videography school, why isn't that showing up? Oh, it's because I'm on the wrong thing. Let me just come over here a minute. That's a bit weird. It's not updating for some reason. Let me try this one over here. Oh, there we go. If you haven't followed me from the photography videography school, please like this page. What's it doing? Yeah, please like this page. Now, we're up to nearly 5,000 subscribers. It's 4,823. Let's see if we can crack the 5,000 in the next coming days. It's just a fantastic site that I've put on there for you guys, really, and it's just to share this YouTube channel, also Aaron's as well. But everyone just shares on there, like videography, all their stills, asking for advice. They share their Instagram pages. They can share YouTube videos. So please join us on here. It's just a fantastic group. Just make sure if you do want to join us that you write it like this, which is the and, the and symbol. So please join us because it's fantastic. You can see there's all videos being shared in here, stuff like that. There's always rumours being shared. So you know, like I said, please join us on this site. It really is a great community. So, and I also would prefer like people ask questions in here rather than message me personally, because then the problem is I'm answering so many questions now that I keep repeating the same answer. So it's better if you ask questions in here and then everyone can see the answers that are actually put out there. So please join us there if you can. All right, so I don't know what's going on with it. Oh, yeah, there we go. That's right now. All right, so let's go to... Oh, now I'm going to go to the OSA images sign because I'm going to put in here show start was... What was it? 9:04. 05. Oops, I just put it in the wrong spot. I'm all excited because it's Independence Day. What is it? 9:20. All right, so let me just bring up the OSA images sign and we'll start the show, guys. G'day everyone, just had a bit of a pre-show with everyone, which has been a lot of fun. We had sparkles and things like that. So happy Independence Day, 4th of July for our US followers, no matter where you are. I hope you've had a wonderful day. Apart from that, I've got a couple of things coming up, which I'll show you now. Just wanted to show you this. This was like I said, the ND that Gerald sent me. Have a look at the box for this ND. It's incredible. This one is the Peter McKinnon one. They are very expensive. I've still got to test them to see how they work compared to, say, a normal ND to see if they're worth the money, because I think they're about $300 from memory. But check out the box. It's stunning. I mean, really is beautifully packaged if you look at how they present an ND. And the NDs are really different. I am going to review this, so but check out the ND. So they come in this little case that you've got here, and then inside them, you get this, like a little holder that screws onto the lens itself. So you screw that on and take this cover off. So you're not really touching the filter. So they are expensive, but boy, are they beautifully packaged. This is the 6 to 9 stop, so stay tuned for a review of that one. Another thing that got sent to me just yesterday is this. So stay tuned for the review of this. I'm going to do an unboxing video first, and then I'm going to take it out tomorrow and use it to see how it works. I'm really excited to see how this compares to my A9. Compares to the Moser Aircross. Because I've been using that for so long. Now, this one's been sent to me. The Moser Aircross I purchased myself. This one has been sent to me by that company, so it's going to be interesting. But from what I've seen, it looks like it's really nice. But like I said, with everything, I'll tell you the truth and how I think it fits in. What I like about it, it seems to have the lower angle, so you'll be able to see your camera a little bit better from the back. But then I suppose you've also got the Moser Aircross 2 that's just about to come out as well, that hopefully I can get to look at as well. But I love gimbals. I've got stacks of them. So I'm excited about trying that one out, so stay tuned for the review of that one. It seems to be, from the reviews online, it looks like it's a very, very good gimbal, so I'll have to check that out. And like I said, stay tuned for the Polar Pro review as well. Once I get that done, I'll show you whether I think it's worth it, because it's been purchased with, well, originally it was my money, but then it got stolen somewhere in customs, so Gerald just amazingly replaced it for me. So I'll let you know whether it is worth the money or not. So it'll be interesting to see how it compares to, say, a Hoya filter or a Polar Pro. Let me just silence my watch. Oops. Because it's going to keep going off. I just pressed the wrong thing. I always do that. I brought up the water resistance thing. Oh, where is it? There. All right, so let's go through a stack of stuff. Now, I'm going to go through the rumours and stuff, and we'll have a discussion about each story. So I'll try and stop after most of the stories. Just depends on how long the show goes, whether I stop between each one or then we just open up to Q&A at the end. If you're watching this later on, you can skip. There will be a timeline down below, so you can skip to that. Please give me a thumbs up because it does make a big difference to the channel. For some reason, a lot of the time the notifications don't go out, so I really do appreciate that. Anyway, let's get started on the show because this is some amazing stuff today. What are we on? I've put camels there, so I put Sony's new camels instead of Sony's new camera. I love it. So what are we on? 13:40. All right, so let's look at this because, boy, am I in trouble. I can see, hopefully Kerry's not watching this. I think she's a bit busy in the house at the moment, so hopefully she's not watching. But it looks like there's now another camera announcement. I noticed here, I'll just skip to this part, but I noticed here that they're saying that Sony officially registered a third camera code today. That was yesterday. We now have 2 E-mount cameras. Oh, thank you so much, Long Ride. I just noticed he gave me a donation, and I really appreciate that, mate. Thank you so much. I'll just show it so you know. Thank you, mate. So they're now saying they've registered a third camera code. We now have 2 E-mount cameras and 1 CyberShot to be announced. So it looks like from this that there's going to be, this is what Sony Alpha rumors are saying anyway. They're saying that there's going to be an A9 II, and there's also going to be a CyberShot, which probably will be something like a new RX camera, one of those type cameras, and another E-mount camera. That's what they're predicting it's going to be. And then obviously there's also the Sony 35 1.8 lens as well that they're talking about being announced. So, boy, are we in for interesting times because it looks really, really exciting. Now, Sony Alpha rumors are saying that this is going to happen around about July the 17th and 18th and around July the 25th. And they're saying here maybe the 17th, 18th date is only for the meeting for the press before the unveiling of the new gear. And then the 25th, obviously, there'll be some more product announcements. But what they're saying in the summary here is that they've officially registered those new camera codes in Asia. Now, that usually means when they do that, it nearly always means that very, very soon after that they're going to announce the camera. So they have to register those codes first, and then the announcement comes out very, very soon after that. So it probably makes sense what Sony Alpha rumors are saying there about when these are going to be announced at the end of this month. So what they're saying in here is that officially they registered the 3 new codes, two for E-mount and 1 for CyberShot RX camera, and I think it probably will be a new RX camera. And they're saying usually the models will be unveiled within 1 to 2 months of registration. Sometimes it's been quicker than that, so it can be quicker than that. It can be within a few days sometimes. There are rumours saying that one of the new models will be a mass model, maybe a new A6 500 successor or a new entry or mid-level A7 camera. Now they're saying that they think that they're saying there's a possibility it might be a replacement for or a competitor for the Canon RP, that low-end model, and it might be an A5 or something like that. Sony 35mm 1.8 will definitely be announced in the late July event. They said they did patent a 500mm f4 and a 100 1.4 lens, but they're saying they don't believe the 500mm GM will be announced in 2019, and the 100mm, on the other hand, may be announced in 2019. Sony A9 II is rumoured to be announced August to October, so that probably matches that normal time frame that we've been hearing. Unfortunately, they're saying the Sony A7S should be announced in late 2019 at the earliest. So it looks like we're probably going to go to next year on the A7S III, which is unfortunate. And they're saying that the CyberShot might... What's it saying? I've got no rumours about what the new CyberShot RX model might be. No rumours at all of any possible A-mount cameras. So there's some really interesting things there that seem to be what's going on with Sony at the moment. So I think looking at it, unfortunately, if you're waiting on an A7S III, I don't think we're going to see it this year. I think it's now going to be pushed out to next year. They're obviously having big problems with that camera. So I think what's probably happening is they're probably battling a couple of things. They're probably battling heat. Remember, They have to make this camera right, and I don't blame Sony then for holding off to make sure that it is right when it's released. For certain, that camera is going to have 4K 60, and it would have to have higher bit depths. So we know that's a fact. Now, whether they can give you that in the body that it's in at the moment, and with the sensors or the processors that are there at the moment, we just don't know. So it looks like they're clearly having issues with producing that camera in its current state, and that's why I think it's been held off for so long. And look, I'm desperately waiting for that as well, and and I keep wishing and wishing and wishing that it would come out. But I have to say, I'd still prefer to wait and have the camera perfect when it comes out and have everything that I want, without it being released in a hurry and then not being happy with what we've got. So I think there's obviously some major things still being developed in that camera. And I think the tide over is going to be the A7000. What they're talking about in that article was that it's going to be an A6500 replacement, which probably will be something like the A7000 or something like that. So I think probably that's going to be the tide over until the A7S is released, because I'm almost certain that if they bring out an A7S, an A7000, it probably will have 4K 60. It may not have those big bit depths, but it might if you go to, say, an external monitor. That wouldn't surprise me. Where I've got a feeling the A7S III is probably going to give you those big bit depths internal and some other amazing things as well. But I think we're going to have to, in the meantime, live with, say, an A7000 or a new A6500 upgrade, which to me makes sense to be an A7000 type model. In that camera, you'd get things like 4K 60. You may get better bit depths, like they might give you 200 megabits or something like that. They're certainly not going to take away what they're going to give you with the Sony A7S III, but they'll certainly, I believe, give you something that will be compatible or comparable to what the Fuji X-T3 has. They have to. I mean, it's one area at the moment where Sony are really lacking is in the video side of things. On the still side of things, they certainly are excelling, and there's nothing really can touch them at the moment. But if you're talking about the video side of things, Sony at the moment are being beaten by Fuji. They're also being beaten by Nikon. The Nikon Z6 is a much better video camera than what anything Sony's got out in that mirrorless range at the moment, due to that higher bit depths that you're getting there and things like that. So it is a better video camera if you look at it. So it's one area where Sony's lacking. That's why I'm pretty sure that we're going to get a decent A7000 or something-ish like that in that camera range first, and then obviously at the end of the year, after these initial sales have all gone, and they probably will sell like crazy, then they'll announce the A7S III with all the fixes that they're obviously trying to do, and give you this amazing high-end video camera. So it probably will be, if they release a really good replacement for the A6500, that's probably one that I'll get, because I need, at this stage, more of a video camera than I do of a stills camera. I'm still completely happy with the A9 and the A7 III that I've got. The A9, and I'll talk about the A9 shortly, but the A9 is still the best camera that's available out there, and I'm still extremely happy with that, and that certainly is meeting my needs. So I know you're going to laugh and say you'll get it. I don't think if an A9 II is announced this year that I probably will get it yet. I would prefer to sort of hold off and say get an A7000 and then get an A7S III when it's announced at the end of that time as well. So, and I think if there's going to be two cameras released this year, full frame cameras, we're going to see an A9 II, and we'll probably see an A7R4. Because I think Sony are probably desperate to put one of these higher megapixel sensors in there, like a 60 or 100 megapixel sensor. So I think that's probably more down the line of what we'll get from Sony. We'll probably get something like an A7R4, the A9 II due to the Olympics being released, the Olympics being on next year, and then an A7000-ish release camera. But according to Sony Alpha Rumors, we're only going to get two cameras, which will be the A9 II and the A7000, and then this RX camera. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. So I'm going to open it up to the chat because I'd really love to know what you guys think it will be. Do you think it's going to be the A9 II and an A7000 or around that thing? Or do you think it may not be an A9 II and it might be an A7R4? You know, these are interesting things that are coming out. But clearly we're not going to get the A7S III this year. So let's open it up to the chat because I'm really curious what people are saying. Where were we? I'll probably start from about here. Sam said a bit of overkill with the packaging. Yeah, it certainly is amazing packaging. That's for sure. I agree with you. We're talking about the ND filter. I agree with you, Sam. It's beautiful packaging, though. I mean, I'm certainly not going to throw it out. It is stunning. But, yeah, they sort of have gone way over the top. What else have we got? Aaron was here as well, I saw just before. The Polar Pro filter seems nice indeed. The interesting thing about this is, though, and I'll just talk to you about this, how it works differently than normal cameras. Oh, let me bring this back because I'm not full screen for a second. The interesting thing about this, and this is one area where I'm dying to try this out to see how it works. It's hard to get out because it's... I'll put it on a lens, hang on. So what you do is it's got that, like I said, that attachment there. Then you screw it onto the actual lens. So your hands aren't physically touching the thing. Is it going in or what? Oh, there we go. All right, so you just get it started and then you can literally just take it off. Now, the amazing thing with how this works is it has hard stop. So this only does 6 to 10. I'm not sure whether... Let me see if I can get it to focus. I just need to get it off me. You'll see here that it's just got the 6 to 10 through there on those numbers. Well, what this is meant to do is it's meant to stop you getting that cross or that hash that you see with normal NDs. And that's why they've done it this way. You've got a 2 to 5 and a 6 to 10. So due to the fact of the way this works... I believe that you can, I believe that it won't get those crosshairs. So you can go up to the maximum and it won't get that cross that you see if you use normal variable NDs. And it's meant to be very good in things like color cast and stuff like that. But I'll test it and let you know whether it's worth it. So stay tuned. But they do seem really nice. But it's expensive. G'day, Aaron. Welcome. Hope you're enjoying your holiday. What else have we got? Langston says, I don't like him much, but I've seen nothing compelling. Oh, I'm not sure what the accusations are about. Just with the... if anyone is commenting, obviously it's about Jason Lanier and stuff like that, guys. I'm not making any comments at all on Jason Lanier or the girls because I want to give everyone the chance to go to court and fight this in court. So I'm not taking sides at all. I certainly get upset when I see Jason being slandered and things saying horrible things about him. And I also get upset with horrible things being said about the girls as well. Because at this stage, we just don't know who, and I like Jason, but we don't know who at this stage is telling the truth because it's he says, she says. So I think at this stage, the best thing we can do is stay out of it, let the legal process take its course, where it should take its course, and it should be fought out in court. So if there's any other comments on there, guys, I'm just going to delete them. Because I don't think it's up to us to get involved in that. This he says, she says stuff, I'm going to stay out of it. So I hope you understand that, but I just don't think it's the right thing to do. It needs to be fought out in court. All right, so let's keep going anyway. Let's get back to this here. So if there's any mods in the chat, if you do see stuff mentioned about that, just delete it, guys. David, please make more videos about the A6300. I can't now because I've sold the only one I've got left now is the A6400. So that's the only APS-C camera I've got left now. I had the A6300 the A6 500, and I sold both of those cameras because I wasn't using them. I love the A6 400, so I'm going to keep that, and I will buy a new A7000 series as well. So I can't do anything now, unfortunately, about the A6 300 anymore. Kia says, just ordered the Tamron 28-75 and the AK 2000. Wow. Now I have to buy the camera, waiting on a hot deal for the A9. Tomorrow is my deadline to buy, yeah. Look, if you can get the A9, particularly on one of those deals, jump in, because it's an amazing camera, and I'm even going to talk about the A9 later. G'day, Chris. Creative Film said, we went through so many assists. Oh, that's talking about that stuff as well. I'm just not going to comment on that. Altric said, late to the party again. Well, at least you're here, Altric. Langston said, okay, it seems you are predisposed with such things. Oh, no, we're talking about the gossip. Guys, let's get on with the show. Let's not worry about that stuff. Crossing my fingers for the baby A9 APS-C camera. Well, you don't know. I mean, look, if they bring out an A7000, I think that probably is going to be a baby A9. So that's one thing that we have to say with that, is that I think it's going to be a very, very good, it'll be their higher-end mirrorless camera. They've released the A6 400 now as their lower-ended camera, which is incredible, and I love that camera. I've just got another cage from Small Rig that I have to review, and I'll show you. It's stunning. I love that camera. So the A7000, if it has obviously the same tracking that the A6 400 has, and it also has IBIS, and you get 4K 60 in that camera, that is going to be one amazing camera. So I can't wait to see that. Jamie said 100mm. I wonder if that will be a macro. I don't think so, Jamie. I think the 100mm 1.4 is just going to be a normal 100mm 1.4. So it's a needed lens due to the fact that, like I said, if you're dealing with shorter working spaces, having that 100mm will be amazing. Like I noticed when I had the Sigma 105, there was quite a bit of difference in the distance that you had to stand away from a model to get like a full body shot. So 100mm would be fantastic, particularly if it's 1.4. It would be amazing, and it's going to happen. It's just a matter of when. Tony said, Antonio Prado from Processing Raw talks about the button problems with the Sony shutter when trying to capture multiple shots continuously on burst. No, I've never experienced those problems at all, Tony. Haven't seen that at all. I'm just laughing at Long Rider saying, Aaron, he says he's cheating against the Fuji. What else have we got? Chris said, not like Canon and Nikon not making cameras right before releases. Yeah, they're due, aren't they? They really are due. Look, I'm sure that Canon and Nikon will have to do some answering shortly with their cameras. That's for sure. A7000 has to be a game changer. Look, I'm sure it will be. If it's anything based like the XT3, and I would say they're going to up on those specifications. They always do, Sony, when they're releasing cameras. So I'm sure when they up that specifications on what we've got, you've got to remember that the A6 400 is the best tracking camera I've ever used apart from the A9. It is nuts. It is seriously insane. When I use that on a gimbal, it is crazy how good that camera is. And also the video side, the video files are beautiful from that camera. So it's a great all-around camera. I mean, originally I wasn't going to buy it due to the fact of no IBIS. But since I've bought it, I love it. And I'm using it on the gimbal. It's probably the best gimbal camera out there. Like if you want to have lightweight, put the 16mm Sigma lens on like what I've got now, and you've got a fantastic combination. It's really good. What else have we got? Venom said we should be on an A8000 and an A7S Mark 1V now. I know, they have been going forever, Venom. I agree with you. Canon door closing, we'll have to get the replay. Or I hope Canon survive, but boy, they're going to have to change the way they do. Creative Film says Sony needs better bit rates for sure, and they do. Look, it's one area where Sony are really lacking at the moment. Now, you might say, for me, it doesn't really matter because I don't do heavy grading, and that's the thing for me. When I'm doing something like, if you watch the video I just did of Rebecca, when I reviewed the Tamron 17 to 28, that was all shot with the A9 on the standard profile, and I did a little bit of grading to make it look like it did. Some people said it looked a bit soft, but that's the grading that I wanted. But I don't grade heavily. Now, if you're a full-on videographer, you do grade heavily, and it might be very important that you don't get problems with gradients in the sky and things like that. You know, if you're going to push it, it's a big difference. It starts to almost act like the difference between RAW and JPEG. So if you do want to manipulate the files, you know, sort of extensively, and videographers do that, having higher bit depths is a massive importance of those shooters. So Sony at the moment are only 100, and you're getting up to 400 megabits now on the other camera manufacturers like the Fuji and the Nikon. Huge difference. So Sony definitely, guys, have to up the ante if you're talking about video. There's no doubt about it. Jimmy said, if they keep holding off on the A7S III, I'm not sure what you mean, but yeah, it looks like next year we're going to get it, I would say, which is unfortunate, but I'll only get in one trouble with Kerry, with whatever the next camera will be. At least it shouldn't be as expensive as an A7S III, that's for sure. Venom says, I'll have kids and they graduate before college before we will see the A7000. I love it. How are you, Dion? Good to see you here. It takes more than bit depth to make better cameras. Bit depth is no good if nothing is in focus. Where were we? Oh, God, I hate it when it does that. Someone said I should just highlight the things, but then it gets awkward. I suppose at least I can highlight it like that where I'm up to. Oh, there we were. A7S coming in 2020 for sure. Yeah, it looks like it's going to be Photomiac. Casper said Nikon is dead. Casper's having a go at Photomiac straight away. Chris said, hello, Photomiac. Langston said, did you all rehearse him walking into that burn? What does that mean? I'm not sure what that means. Jimmy said 60 megapixel image. Imagine the files. Yeah, I know, it'll be incredible. Look, it's going to happen. I would say that the next one will be between that 60 to 100 megapixel. That will be the Sony RX. The Sony A7R4. I think you'll be pushing up between 60 to 100 megapixels. Remember, a lot of the G-Master lenses are rated up to 100 megapixels, so that's one good thing if you've bought G-Master lenses. So I think that's a given that we're going to get these higher megapixel cameras coming up fairly soon. Joris says, I would get the A7S III out ASAP if I was Sony because they are losing momentum with other brands coming up with good cameras for filming. They can update the A7S with firmware. Yeah, but Joris, it may not be firmware that's the issue here. It might be heat. The problem is that if you're dealing with something that Sony want to push in the camera body size that they've got, you're dealing with massive amounts of heat. Now, they're borderline now with 1080 and 4K, I should say, 4K 30p. If you're now starting to push 4K 60p and also to be giving you higher bit depths, that is a massive amount of processing that has to go on now compared to what they were in the previous cameras. So I would say Sony are either trying to develop a processor that is going to run a lot cooler with new technologies that enables it to be in the same body, or they're going to make the body bigger to get the heat away, like what Panasonic have done and companies like that. So I think it's not just something with firmware. I think it's the hardware is the limiting factor in such a small body. There's a reasons why the RX 100s shut down after a very short period of time if you're shooting 4K. And that's due to heat buildup, and it's why they had issues early on in the Sony A7 R2 and things like that had problems. The A7 III will have problems if you run 4K in the heat. It can shut down after 30 minutes. I've proven that because it happened to me. So if you're trying to get 4K 60 out of those things with a higher bit depth, it's going to be a massive amount of heat. So I'd say they're probably trying to solve some issues before that. Tony said, the thing is, if they launch another APS-C camera, Sony will also launch new lenses for APS-C. I got a second-hand A6300 and I don't see many options. Finally bought the Sigma 16 1.4. Yeah, look, they haven't given the APS-C much love. But remember, you can use full-frame lenses on there. That's the beauty of the Sony mount, is that you can put on the APS-C cameras the full-frame lenses. And I do that all the time. In fact, I wasn't going to buy any other APS-C lenses, but I bought the 16mm because I tried it and I loved it. And I may even get, say, the 56mm Sigma, due to the fact that it gives you that 85mm roughly focal length, because I'm so happy with how good the Sigma 16 works, so I might get another. So you have got lenses that you can use, it's just that it hasn't got the same love. But remember, you can buy full frame lenses, so that's one of the beauties of that. Gerald said, I think A7000, the A9 too. I probably agree with you too, Gerald. I think that's probably what's going to happen. Give me the A7000, Joe says. Chris says, I'm thinking a full frame and crop sensor will be coming out. I think that too. Stuart says, I gave you a good plug on the CR Kennedy Imaging Facebook page. Oh, thank you so much, Stuart. That means a lot to me. Dion said, creative film, so more important than photo. Oh, I think he was talking to someone else. Langston said, in theory, yes, because I can get a focus puller, but I just can't get a better bit rates. Yep, I can understand that. And that's something else to remember too. A lot of videographers like Aaron, who's in here, will back me up on this. We've discussed this before. If he's doing something that is just video orientated, he uses manual focusing. So for videographers, really good autofocus is not such a big deal. It is for someone like me that wants to shoot fusion, but if you are full-on videographers, they will be doing manual focus, and they still do manual focus. So for them, it's more important to get a great bit depth and things like that. Video quality is more important than autofocus for sure. Bad Habits said, I've only been shooting for about 6 months and I started with the A7 III. I would love another camera for video and I've been looking at the A6 400 but might wait to see what's next. Yeah, look, if you're not in a hurry, I would probably wait a little bit longer. If you can too, guys, could you please give me a thumbs up? I really do appreciate it because it does share my page out, so I'd love it if you could do that for me. Yeah, look, if you're not in a hurry, I would wait. If you want something now, I can definitely recommend the A6 400. It's a fantastic video camera, but you do need a gimbal due to the fact that there's no IBIS in that camera, so you can't really hand-hold it. Yeah. Charles said, just purchased the 100 to 400 GM. That's a great lens. Your thoughts on the A9? I'm going to talk about the A9 as a separate story soon, Charles, so stay tuned. Rick said Sony's going to have to change their mounts to keep up with Canon R and Nikon Z. It's not like they haven't done it before. I don't think they have to change their mounts at all, Rick. I don't think there's anything wrong with the mount that's already there. I mean, you can buy 1.4 lenses like that now. Sigma just about to announce shortly a 1.2 35mm lens. There's already 0.95mm lenses that are out there at the moment. So I don't think the mount's an issue at all. I think that is more of a Canon and Nikon hating on Sony thing to say. I'm happy that the mounts are the same, and I hope they don't change due to the fact that you can use the APS-C lenses as well as full-frame lenses. You can't do that on Canon and Nikon. I think that's a massive benefit. Not having to develop two separate lenses completely for different mounts takes a massive amount of research and development. Sony don't have to do that. That's one big benefit as well. So I don't think they need to change it at all. Happy 4th to all you superior Sony users. Gerald said someone in customs fell in love with that ND, and yeah, no, I think you're right, Gerald. They probably did. Tox Vision says if the new Sony A9 II has log profiles and is under $5,000, I'm getting it. I'm not waiting for the A7S anymore. I mean, there could be one way of looking at this. Is the A9 II going to be a mixture of the A7S3 and the A9 together? It's possible. We don't know. We're only hearing rumours about what the A7S3 was going to be or is going to be. They could possibly put everything in an A9 too. We don't know. I mean, that would be just unbelievable if they did that. But it's possible that they may put picture profiles in that camera. It may have everything we need, and they might just call it a day on that side of the thing and then just move on from there. It's a possibility, but, you know, do you guys think that's a possibility? The thing is, it was a deliberate ploy, I'm sure of it, of Sony not to put picture profiles in this camera. The reason why they did that was because no one would have gone out and bought the A7S II. Because if this had picture profiles, what could have beaten it? I mean, seriously, there's nothing could have beaten it. So, you know, that's the thing about that. There's no reason why. Tell me why they couldn't have put picture profiles in this. It does not make sense. It's got the most powerful processor that's in there. The sensor is incredible. There's no reason why they couldn't have put picture profiles in there. The video is outstanding, the quality that's in there. It was just a marketing move. I'm sure of it. It was just a marketing move on Sony's behalf. So they'll either go two ways. They won't put picture profiles in. That means definitely the A7S3 is coming out fairly soon. If picture profiles go in it, it's going to be interesting. Creative Film says 6 to 10. I got the 2 to 5 ND more practical. It just depends, where you're shooting. For me, I mostly shoot outdoors in bright sun. Australia is very, very sunny. So for me, a 2 to 5 is probably not, I wouldn't use it as much. Look, if I find that I use this a lot and I like the 6 to 10, I will probably go out and buy the 2 to 5. But at this stage, the 6 to 10 makes more sense to me due to the fact that I'm shooting in such sunny conditions. That's why I wanted that one. Creative Film says if you shoot people it is. Jimmy says, hold on, what are we talking about right now? I think, that's going back to what we were talking about before. 6 to 10 for long exposures. Yeah, that's the other thing. If you want to do long exposures, you need that 6 to 10 filter on there as well. Flying High Low says, I have an A7R3. It has more pixels than I need. When I'm sending the JPEG to the clients, I usually downsize the photo by 50%. With the R4, I would downsize it by 75%. Look, it's just a usage thing here. Landscape photographers love resolution. Real estate photographers love resolution as well. And high-end retouchers love resolution. That's why, the GFX 100 is doing well at the moment. It's anything with, phase 1 cameras, stuff like that at the high end is due to the fact that they love that resolution for things like retouching and stuff. So there is a definite area where you can have a high resolution camera. If Sony brought out an A7R4, that's probably one that I would be interested in buying. Not that I would shoot it often because I don't. But it would be a camera that occasionally I will use in the studio, and I would love if I go and do landscape or something like that I've got a really high megapixel camera. So if they do bring out an R4, I may buy that. That's the reason why I never bought the R3, because I had the R2 and it wasn't different enough for me. So, Haas says, hey everyone, David, that's the best advice right now. People should let the two parties sort it out. Yeah, it's got to be up to them to sort it out. It's certainly not up for anyone else to. Hello, when you shoot weddings, do you shoot wide open at 2.8, 1.8? Well, I always vary it, John. It depends on the location. Often I will shoot at 5.6. And that's because I want to show the location where the bride is. The thing is, and you've got to also understand this, that when you're shooting in a beautiful location, you do not want to be blowing the background out. Remember, brides sometimes have paid to shoot in this stunning location, and then if you're shooting at 1.4 and they can't see that location, you might as well have shot it in a car park. So that's the thing with that. I went to a workshop, like I said, not a while ago now, with Yervont, and he changed my whole thinking, because before that, I nearly always did shoot wide open. And he said to me, he said, David, that I'm shooting in all these beautiful locations that the brides have said that they've paid this massive amount of money for. And he said, I want to show that location with them. And he changed my thinking. So now I do a mix of both. I will shoot wide open for a number of shots, but then if I think I want to incorporate the environment in that shot, I'll step down a little bit. Like I might go to 5.6 or something like that, even f8. It just depends on what I want to show. Lewis said, I'd rather see an A7000 Mini A9 than an A7R4. We need a better camera with more megapixel. Jimmy said, toddler A9. Haz says, I'm going on a family trip to West Coast US. We'll be taking my A6500 and the Tamron 28-75 lens. Was hoping if a Sigma 56 1.4 will be better outdoor lens, or is a zoom enough? No, I think you've probably got enough there. That's probably what I would travel with. But you haven't got a really fast lens that you might need, Haas. That's why the 16, I think, is such a good lens, because it's a wider lens. Rather than the 56 in that scenario, because you've got the Tamron 28-75, I'd probably get the 16mm Sigma to have something that's wider. 10-18 is also amazing. So that lens is also an amazing lens as well. If you're dealing with travel, fantastic. Even on full frame, you'll get 12mm out of it. Gerald says, in my humble opinion, the A7S III, when it comes out, will blow the competition away. Sony will not stay to go back on the video performance. Yeah, and I think that's the thing. I agree with you, Gerald. I think it will. It is going to be an incredible camera. And clearly, the amount of time it's taking to come out, I think is going to prove that, because Sony are clearly trying to do amazing things with that camera. Otherwise, we would have seen it already. Which camera to start with? Sony A7 III or the A9? If you have the money, I would buy the A9, unless you need picture profiles. If you need picture profiles for video, I'd get the A7 III. Otherwise, definitely the A9. We better move on to... I'm nearly down the bottom. I'll read these. Gilbert says, if they bring out the R4, they should make it possible to change the resolution. I so hope that is the case, Gilbert. If they had something like a 100 megapixel camera, and then you could downsample that to, say, 40 or 30, like a mini RAW, like what Canon does, would be brilliant. And I don't know why Sony don't do that. I would love to see them do that. Phonomix says, I would never do that, but the B-roll I would. I'm not sure what that was about. Creative says, got my 17-28 in pre-order as well, can't wait. And I'll talk about that pre-order in a minute, actually. Thank you for the advice on weddings, no worries. Jimmy said, thoughts on the Rockion 35 1.4? I'm actually really liking it. Jimmy, I haven't used it, so I can't comment on that lens at this stage. But Rockion and Sigma and all of those companies now seem to be really lifting their game. Aaron says, I shoot at 5.6 a lot. Yes, you do, Aaron. And that's it. All right, so let's go on to the next story, guys. Where are we? I'm going to talk about the A9 now, which is 5140. All right, so let's go back here. So second story is... Oh, no, it's Tamron, actually. How did I get that mixed up? Let me just fix this. I've put the wrong story in. So that's 51. I'll put 52. Now, this is interesting, and I know this is a fact, because when I went the other day to pick up the 17-28, I was told that the pre-orders were very, very strong, and that was here. So it looks like the same as what Tamron apologised for the 28-75. The same thing's going to happen with the 17-28. Because they've basically said that we sincerely apologise for any inconvenience caused to the parties concerned, including customers who are waiting for the release of the product. Because they're saying that they've been shocked again by the number of pre-orders that have come out on the lens. It says delivery to some customers who have already made the reservation may be after the release date. In other words, they may not get it until after the release date, even if you've pre-ordered now. Customers who will be making reservations in the future will also be delivered one by one, so it may be some time to deliver the product. It just says we will do our best to deliver the product as quickly as possible. So it looks like, and I mentioned this to everyone previously, that if you do want to get the 17 to 28, my suggestion definitely is to pre-order it. You may have already missed the boat on getting it now at delivery date, but let me just mark on here too, because I'll mark where we were previously. Yeah, so I think you may have already missed the boat, but look, the sooner you put your order in, the sooner you're going to get it. I was incredibly impressed with the lens, and I've put up 3 videos now talking about that and showing some samples and everything that I did yesterday. I put up a video yesterday showing the samples before and also after, and talking about the lens as well. Just like the Tamron 28 to 75, I haven't pre-ordered it. I may get it when I can get it in the shops again. I did love using it, and it probably is the best gimbal lens that you can purchase for the money. There's nothing, I think, out there that touches it. I adored using it on the gimbal because it was so light, so wide, and you had that zoom range as well, and the autofocus was fantastic. So it was really good. But I'm sort of torn at the moment. I'd love a really wide-angle lens, something in the 12mm lens, sort of focal length. Particularly because I'm coming out to the US in Feb, and I'm thinking I'd like a wider angle lens for when I'm going to the Grand Canyon and stuff like that. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I mean, I may sell the 16 to 35 f2.8 Sony lens I've got. That's the f4 version. Because I'd prefer that lens. I'd prefer the 17 to 28 over the 16 to 35 f4 lens. So, you know, that's one thing that I'm sort of thinking about that I may do. So I might sell that and then purchase the 17 to 28. But the problem is now it's probably going to take me nearly 12 months before I could get one in the shops anyway. I probably should have pre-ordered it when I had the chance, but I've missed the boat now anyway. But I did love it. And that's all I can say to people is that after using it, and I used it for a number of hours yesterday. I think it was 5 hours of continuous shooting that I did, and I didn't stop in that time. And I was amazed with how well the lens worked, how good it felt. Equal quality, you know, to the Tamron 28 to 75, and this lens still looks like it's brand new after 12 months of massive use. I mean, I've used this so much, you know, and if you compare that to what my Sony lenses look like, it always goes under face focus, you know, with scratches that are all on it and stuff like that. The Sony lenses tend to scratch really badly. So yes, the Tamron lenses are more made out of like a plasticky material, but boy, is it a durable material. And that's the thing that I can say to people. Don't be put off by the fact that they don't seem to have, in theory, the same build quality that the Sony lenses do, because the build quality on those Tamron lenses has been outstanding and very, very, like, incredibly durable, like amazingly durable. Considering I treat the Tamron exactly the same as my Sony lenses, and the Sony lenses have got scratches all over them, they work still perfectly. I mean, it doesn't affect the optics, of course, but it's just I'm talking about if you're looking at the aesthetics on the outside. So my suggestion is, if you did want to get it, pre-order it now. If you've missed out, at least you'll be in the order to get it. Missing the 35 didn't bother me at all. I've also got the 28 to 75, so I can move to that lens as well if I want it. And the price that you're paying for that Tamron, instead of paying for the 16 to 35 GM, you can save that money and then buy an amazing prime. You know, I mean, you're well on the way to getting like a 24, you know, 1.4. So, you know, the money you save is incredible. And the quality is beautiful. I mean, the images I showed, I was so happy with those images. So, you know, I really think it's a winner. I'm going to keep moving anyway because I want to talk about the A9. So let's get on to that. And I'll come back to the chat at the end, or in a minute. What time are we on? 57. 50. All right, so let's talk about this. So we're going to talk about the A9. This is really interesting because you'll laugh at this when we talk about it, because this is something that I've been saying forever since, I mean, how long have I been saying that the A9, there is nothing in its class that can touch it. I've been saying that for so long. And Dpreview have now reassessed the camera since the version 5 firmware has come out. It's only a matter of time now until we get the latest version, version 6, which will give us the animal IAF and also the intervalometer, and probably some better tracking as well. But they've reevaluated it after they've done the update to version 5, and they're saying basically that it is the highest scoring camera in its class. I mean, look, it's like I've said all along, that nothing can touch it. Like the A6400 is probably the closest, but there's still a big jump between the A6400 and the A9 if you're dealing with real tracking. The A9 is just superior. The A6400 is the best, second best I've seen, but the A9 is clearly in a class of its own. And like this article will be underneath so you can read it yourself. I'm not going to go through the whole thing to discuss it, but there's nothing can touch it. It is just unbelievable. I'm so happy with how it works, and it's not only the tracking that is amazing in this, but that's like, I would have bought this camera, I would have paid a new price for the camera and got a new one if it was just a tracking improvement that they've put in, because that to me is such a major difference in the camera the way it was before, that I would have paid for that just to get that tracking. It's that good. But not only that, we have the 20 frames per second in that camera. We've got the beautiful controls on the top, which I love. And anyone that's used this now will understand how much better it is to have these extra controls at your hand. And whenever I go back to the... it's back there. Whenever I go back to the A7 III, I'm always looking for these controls because I don't want to put this camera down. I never want to take anything out other than this camera. I love the way you can control your AFS and manual focusing and all that sort of stuff from on this dial. I love the way you can control, whether you want to go fast shooting or set your timer or bracketing or whatever, all from the controls up here. The tracking is amazing. The 20 frames per second is amazing. Not only that, the silent shutter is incredible. There's no rolling shutter. I don't think I've seen rolling shutter in the A9 that I've used it. I haven't had banding in my using the A9. Having that 1/32,000th of a second is brilliant. So I can use this lens at 1.4 in daylight and get that beautiful out of focus background at 1/32,000th of a second. You can't do that with the A7 III unless you put an ND on there to get the same effect. So it's just got so much going for it, and there is still nothing that touches it. So it doesn't surprise me at all, and it's what I've been saying the whole time. We've been here. I've been saying I think the A9 is the best camera that's ever been produced, and I still think that. That's why I'm probably not in any hurry to buy an A9 II, but Sony will probably do something ridiculous on it, like a global shutter or something, and then I'll want to go out and get it. All right, that's all I wanted to say on that. So have a read of the story down below, because I'm going to go to the next story, and then we'll go into questions. What time are we on? 1:30. Oop, 1:30. Oops. Didn't put enough zeros. All right, so this last story is really interesting. How many, to be in the Sony realm at the moment is just unbelievable. I mean, seriously, how lucky are we now? This is an SR5, so this is going to happen. So we've got, this is breaking news for Sony shooters. Look, this is now, just like I'm saying, it is just getting now ridiculous how much choice we have. Being a Sony user now, we are probably the most blessed that's out there at the moment now. And once Sony releases his new camera shortly as well. But anyway, Sigma are going to launch 4 new FE lenses fairly soon, they're saying. And they're saying, they're thinking that the lenses that they're going to announce are these ones. So they're saying it's going to be a 35 f1.2, a 45 2.8, a 12 to 24 2.8, and a 2470 2.8 as well. And we've just obviously also got the Tamron 17 to 28, and I can guarantee, almost 100% sure within 12 months we'll have a Tamron 70-200 or around that range as well. So if you can't afford to buy the Sony lenses, we are now starting to get this amazing collection of native lenses. Now, these are all going to be designed for the Sony mount right from the beginning. So unlike the other lenses that have just had the bolt-on, in other words, they've just really bolted on, this adapter, the MC11. That's really what they've done. So instead of doing that, we're going to get native lenses built for the mirrorless right from the ground up. So in theory, they should be a lot smaller, which is great, and also probably work better as well. So there's a couple of lenses here that really interest me. The 35 1.2, I've just sold my 35 Sony lens recently because I bought the Sony, the 24 1.4. I wanted to sort of get rid of some lenses, and I thought I'd use the 24 more, and I have been really enjoy using that. But then they come out and do this to me, Sigma. They bring out this 35 1.2, and immediately I think, 1.2, I'd love to have a look at it. So I'm really tempted to get that one, the 35 1.2, because I do enjoy shooting 35. 45, not so much, but I know a lot of you love that 45mm focal length. But the other one too, I know we were talking about this with Gerald, the 12-24 too. If that's nice, if that's a nice lens, that is also one that I'm really interested in as well, because I've got nothing on that wide angle lens for really wide in full frame. So 12-24 could be really interesting. But the point is that we haven't got any timeline yet on when these are going to be coming out. They're just saying in mid-July, Sigma will have a major announcement. So they say mid-July, but then we don't know what time frame it's going to be before they're actually released. So it could be a few months after that. We don't know. But the 12-24 certainly interests me. The 24-70, not so much. I'm happy with my Tamron 28-75. I'm really happy with that. But the 12-24 certainly does. Now, CR Kennedy, hopefully I'll be able to get some of these. I might be able to get some of these early for testing, hopefully. But I'm certainly interested in testing that 35 1.2 and the 12-24. And I noticed on the on this sort of voting where people voted, most people were voting for what they preferred to get. And there was a lot more votes for, 36% for the 12-24. So that really interests people. The 35 1.2 also does. The 24-70, not so much, and the 45, not so much either. So it looks like most people are interested in the two lenses that I'm talking about, which is the 12-24 and the 35 1.2 as well. So, I mean, seriously, it is like heaven at the moment for a Sony user. We just keep getting more and more spoiled in everything that's coming out there. We're going to get 3 new cameras, obviously, this year. One full frame, one APS-C, and one probably RX camera. We're going to get the 17-28 Tamron lenses going to be released shortly. We're going to get 4 new Sigma lenses are going to be released shortly. I mean, it's just got to the ridiculous stage, of how much we're spoiled. So let's open it up to Q&A anyway, because let me just delete that. Let me take that back, and we'll spend a little bit of time having a chat. 1043. Okay. All right, so I wanted to open up to Q&A. Let me go back to see what people were having a chat about. So fire away if you have any questions, guys. Let me just go back to where we were. I went past that before. Jimmy asked, I'm not going to go right back, but Jimmy said, thoughts on the Miki battery grip. I haven't got them. I only ever use Sony battery grips, so I can't talk about the third party, but I know a lot of people might be able to, even in the chat, Jimmy, talk about them. I pay a little bit more because I like to have the Sony ones. I do like to stay in the Sony realm with anything like that, like having this and also batteries. I only ever buy the Sony batteries as well. I don't buy third-party batteries either. Alex said, absolutely blown away by my new A9 body. By far the best camera for weddings. The focusing is so good. I thought my A7 III and the A7R III was amazing, but the A9 is on another planet. And I agree with you totally, Alex. Like I said, I do not want to put that camera down. I really don't. And the thing is, guys, and this is what you have to sort of think about too, when you're dealing with the A9, just think about that. Even if they do release a new A9 too, the A9 is still going to be an incredible camera for the next 3 years. So that's how you've got to look at it. The technology that's there is better than anything that's out there at the moment. So I wouldn't hesitate to just get in now, because the A9 II obviously is going to be way more expensive. It's probably going to be up with where the original A9 was, or it might even be a bit dearer. So I would say jump at the A9 now, because it is brilliant, and we're still going to even get another firmware upgrade, version 6, sometime this month or next month. So, you know, I would just jump in and get it. I wouldn't be saying, well, I'm going to wait and see what the A9 II is. Unless you have no need for a camera at this stage and you've got the funds available for an A9 II, I would certainly buy the A9 in a heartbeat. Loma, welcome. Langston said, I tried the A6400 yesterday. It just felt a bit weird. I don't know, maybe I'm too used to the A7 III. It does take a bit of getting used to, Langston. I'll show you that small rig battery grip, small rig cage that I've got. I'll review it in the next few days, and it does make a big difference with how you can hold the camera. Better bit rates retain better detail as well. Yeah, good point. Haas says, David, your Tamron 17-28 videos are showing great stats. Keep it up. Yeah, I thought they would, Haas, because it's always new lenses and stuff like that. Plus, it's a great lens. So, yeah, I'm not surprised that their videos are doing quite well. But thanks, everyone, for watching them. Why not just shoot RAW and stop wasting time? Are you talking about shooting if you're shooting JPEG? Expected price of the A7000? Well, it's probably going to be about the price the A6500 is now, I would say. So, probably around that. I'm not sure. I can't remember what the A6500 is in US terms, but I think it would be priced around the same as the A6500. Might be a fraction dearer. You is saying, I think around 1,500 to 2,000. Yep, probably around that rate. D said the Nikon Z6 data rate is only 144 in 4K. But isn't it, if you go external, I think it's a lot higher, D, I think. If you go external, I think you can go up to 400. I could be wrong. Lomar says, the only reason Canon is alive is because Sony won't put a flip-up screen on their cameras. 100 megapixel camera, the file size and the amount of RAM needed to process those pictures. Yeah, you're going to need a decent computer, that's all. G'day, Mark. Good to see you in here. Haas says, hey, Mark. Langston says, yes, Christo, prepare your ginormous workstation. Eli says, if Sony releases a 100 megapixel camera that is not able to shoot at lower res RAW files, yeah, let's hope they do. I mean, I really do hope they do. Aaron says, yes, manual focus so I can pull focus at different speeds on the one take. Yep. Lois said, David, thumbs up and happy 4th of July. Thank you so much, Lois. Lewis, I mean. Eli says, I just got the 100 to 400 GM also. It's a great lens. I loved it when I used that. I used it for a portrait shoot. I did a review on it. If you scroll back far enough, you'll see I did a portrait shoot with that. Sean said, David, would you come to Seattle, Washington area when you visit America? I would love to go up there, Sean. It just depends on finances. Like, it's costing me a lot of money to go to Vegas and LA and up to San Francisco. I would love if I had the funds to go up to Washington and meet people there as well. I would adore to go up there. I love that part. Well, when I say I love that part, I've only been to New York. I'd love to come back to New York again. I adore it there. I really would love to come up there. If I can't, I'd love you guys to come down to WPPI and meet me down there somewhere. Langston says, I'm finding I want manual focus control when I shoot epic stuff. Yeah, and that's the way it is. Most people that are doing full-on videography do shoot manual focus. Jimmy said they should honestly have a 24 megapixel option in the A7R. I don't know why Sony don't give that option, though. I really don't understand why they don't give us a lower resolution version like Canon do. It shouldn't be that hard to do. I'm not sure why they don't. AO and JO Photography says, I love the A6400. I have 2 of them now. I use them for the side angles during the wedding ceremony, and I use the tracking to keep the bride and groom in focus. Yeah, the tracking is nuts. It really is. While I love zone focus, nothing beats tracking. I agree with you. Photomic, I'm thinking about picking up an A6400 for around the holidays. Yeah, you'd love it. It's a great holiday camera. I'll definitely be taking mine to the US. Lewis says, A9 is a photographer's camera, not hybrid. I disagree, Lewis, because I use the video side of it all the time. Check out the video I just did of Rebecca and tell me that's not a hybrid camera. I disagree. Jimmy said 42 megapixels isn't always necessary, especially if you do sports as well. 42 megapixel shooting at 10 frames per second. AGO said, what's your lens lineup? I'm seriously considering one, but I don't know how it will pair with my A7 III. Langston, the 16 Sigma, the 16mm Sigma 1.4 is beautiful on the A6500. You can also get the cheap Sigma 56mm 1.4 as well, which gives you the 85 focal length, and you've got a beautiful combination for doing portraits. Stunning. That's one lens I might buy. Excuse me. Mikkel says, do you think Sony needs to upgrade their lenses to version 2? Yes, I've discussed that. I think there definitely will be upgrades coming up eventually. I think you'll probably see that the thing is, and I've talked about this before, once you've started to use the new, once you've started to use this, the 135, you understand the potential that Sony have with the new focusing motors that they put into these cameras. The 135 is outstanding. Now, there's a couple of lenses that could benefit from that. Well, there's a few lenses could benefit from that. The 85 1.4 could benefit from having those new motors in. But I wouldn't be surprised, like I said, to see Sony release something like an 85 1.2 with those motors in. That may be what they do. But I wouldn't be surprised to see an 85 1.4 have the new motors. I also wouldn't be surprised to see a new 2470 and also a 70-200 with those new motors in them as well. Like anything, if you look at Nikon, they've always had version 2 and version 3 of their lenses, and you're going to find Sony will eventually do the same thing. So it's only a matter of time before they do version 2s of those lenses, that's for sure. Dion says, could be an issue with processing power for picture profiles and all that high-speed data. If they added picture profiles, you may have got rolling shutter instead. Maybe, Dion, there might be reasons, but I just don't know. I've just got a feeling it was a marketing thing, but you may be right. Carl says, will Sony have a fully articulated screen instead of the flip-up-down contraption currently used? Not sure, but you know, the funny thing is, the more and more I've got used to the Sony, the more I've got to like it. Because I'm looking at it now. The screen is put up above me, and I'm looking at the screen now. And can you tell that I'm looking at that screen? This is the interesting thing about that. Now, what I'll do is I'll look at where a fold-out screen will be. So now I'm looking there. So this is how I would have to look if I had a fold-out screen like what Canon have, which is quite interesting. Now, can you tell the difference? Now, I'm going to look back again to mine. Can you tell now that I'm looking at the screen that's above the camera? I think in a lot of ways, if you're dealing with vlogging, having the screen above it is really good. And now that SmallRig are making all these things that pushes the microphone adapter to one side so it doesn't affect the microphone, I actually really like it. So I've changed a little bit in my thinking. I think Sony goal is to push people to the A9. A-mount is dead. Yeah, I think you might be right. I think A-mount love is almost just about gone, I think. Jimmy says, if they release a 60 or 100 megapixel, they should definitely add a lower res option. Yeah, I hope they do. That would be fantastic. Imagine if you had a 100 megapixel sensor and then you could get a low res option as well. It might still be 50 megapixel, but still. Cody said, Sony need to open up their patent on their E-mount so their lenses can be adapted to other cameras via adapter. Wait for the A7S III is just too long. Well, you can put the... well, Nikon have just got one now that's just been released. So it is available to be done. You can use E-mount lenses now on the Nikon Z cameras. Photomix says, I want something small and light for vlogging and YouTube creation. I love the Panasonic, but the GH5 is outclassed. I can deal with no IBIS using gimbals. Yeah, and that's what I've been doing, Photomiac. I've just been using that small gimbal that I've got. The Crane M is fantastic for using this. So small, brilliant light, and the A6 500 on it works brilliantly. A6 400 works brilliantly on it. And the 16 mil is just beautiful on it. And if you want to get a really light setup, have that with the 10 to 18 f4 version, and that is super light. Agreed on the lower res, just add new RAW format. And I know that's all they have to do, and I don't understand why it just hasn't been done. It's certainly needed, that's for sure. I want the Sony A7R4, Aaron said. Jimmy said, vlogging with a gimbal, that's tough. It's not tough if you have that Crane M, though, because it's nice and light. But for B-roll, I would. My arm is almost dead after shooting 3 days a week with my A7R3 on the Rowan S. Yeah, if you've got big gimbals, it's tough. I mean, I love that. I love this. So, like I said, I'm really enjoying using the Moser Air. Let me just switch this over. I'm really enjoying using this due to the fact that I've now put this handle on. And then you can also twist it down if you want to go that way, and then tighten it up like that. Depending on how you want to shoot this, holding it down like that now, we can move forward like that. So having this handle from Small Rig has been brilliant, and I really like it. Like I love the wood feeling of it. You've even got a cold shoe adapter up the top, up here, mounting points. You got mounting points on the handle all through here, but that's changed the way I shoot with it, and it certainly helps a lot. But having said that, it's still heavy. Look, I'm not going to lie to you, it's still heavy. That's why I'm looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to having a look at this to see if this meets my needs. It's a lot lighter, so it's going to be interesting to see how this works with the A9 and the A7 III and the A6 400. So I'm looking forward to doing this. Like, stay tuned. I'm going to review this tomorrow. Creative Film says, again, got my 17 to 28 on pre-order. Can't wait. You're going to love it. Great lens. I was really, really happy with that. Thank you for the advice on shooting weddings. Thoughts on the Rocky on 35 1.4? Yeah, like I said, I haven't used it, so I can't say what it's like, but others might be able to say what they think about that lens. What else have we got? Langston says, I think he was using his 24-105 as well. DS, like I said, in a wedding, what would you find more useful? The Tamron 28 to 70 or the 17 to 28? Probably the 28 to 70 would be my main lens that I use in the wedding. That's the one that I keep on one camera all the time. But then, obviously, for wider stuff, I've got the 16 to 35 f4, and I use that for certain shots. But the most used lens would be the 28 to 70. Now then, if I want to use something wider, I'd obviously go for the 24 mil. But if I had the 17 to 28, that would then replace the 16 to 35 that I have. And that would be a great combination. Look, the ultimate combination, if you want to keep all primes, is to have the 28 to 70, the 17 to 28, and then Tamron will be releasing a 70 to 200. It's only a matter of time. You've got the perfect combination if you want to use zooms. But I would say the 28 to 70 is definitely more useful as a main lens in weddings. And then occasionally you get something out wider. You've also got to remember too that one of the things I love about the Tamrons is the close focusing, and the 17 to 28 is also the same. It's almost a macro. And to have that ability to shoot nearly macro with these lenses is brilliant, and I can't say how useful that is in weddings. It's fantastic. I'm not sponsored by Tamron at all. All they do is give me the lens as an early preview. In fact, they tell me to review it as I see it. So, you know, I'm not sponsored by them. I just like the gear. Real photographers shoot 1 frame per month. Each frame is an award winner. Langston says, I'm curious about how that new gimbal works. Not everything I do needs to be a Rowan and I want options. Yeah, well, stay tuned. I'm going to film an unboxing tomorrow. It may not be posted tomorrow. And I'm going to go out somewhere tomorrow to use it to see how it works. I'm really interested in to have a look at how it works because it's sort of similar in that it has the lower ended handle so you can see the monitor at the back. It's got an LED display on it that you can touch. So it seems to have some really nice features. So stay tuned and I'll let you know what I think. What else have we got here? Rick said, just stirring the... Oh, okay, he's just stirring someone. Sammy said, spray and pray, another throw. Yeah, I think they're all talking about the 20 frames per second. I very rarely shoot 20 frames per second. Look, the only time I ever do it is if I'm shooting dancers that are shooting across, doing some jump. That can be the difference of getting the shot or not getting the shot. There certainly is a time for 20 frames per second, but I very rarely use it. But it is there if I need it. And a couple of times it has meant the difference between getting this amazing shot or just missing out on it. So there certainly is a need for it. But look, you're not going to use it very often at all. I'm just laughing at Photomeic's comment there. Oh, I've got to bring this back to the comments. Sammy Photography said, right, because when a Falcon is flying 240 miles per hour, you're going to pick that special shot. Laugh out loud. Yeah, that's right. There's times for using 20 frames per second as well. Like if you, for instance, if you were trying to get a perfect golf swing in the moment that he hits that ball, if you were doing baseball and you wanted to get the moment that guy hits the ball, they're all moments where the 20 frames per second definitely makes some a difference. If you're doing wildlife, it can make a massive difference as well. If you're photographing birds, because you don't have to try and preempt everything. You could just fire away and then get that perfect shot. So it definitely makes a difference for sure. What else have we got? Sammy said, I was talking about using it for wildlife and sports. Yeah, that's the area where the 20 frames per second... Remember, the A9 was originally developed as a sports camera, and it still is sold as that. The only thing is, I think it's the perfect wedding camera, event camera, and that's the thing now with the focusing and everything else. It's moved into other areas, and that's now why it's now starting to sell so well. Initially, it was very, very expensive, so it didn't sell so well. But I think now it is selling very well due to the fact that it is that perfect events type camera, as well as sports, as well as for doing dance recitals, dance concerts, things like that, where you can capture that perfect moment. Working with a perfect silent shutter. Like I said, there's nothing quite out there that's quite like that. Hello, Photomeic. You can just fire away and get that perfect shot. You're exactly right, Photomeic. Go to the Grumpix motorcycle race with the Z6. It will refuse to come out of the bag. Casper, 20 frames per second is the bomb. It is. When you need it, it really is incredible. Gerald says, Photomeic, where are you going? You're out of control and making no sense at all. Hilarious. There's a few arguments going on. All right, guys. I think we're at the end of the day. It's just about my time to go and get a morning coffee. Thank you so much for, we've had over 200 people watching today, so thank you so much. Stay tuned for the review on the gimbal. I'll have that up soon. It's going to be interesting to see how that compares to the other gimbals that I've got. I'm really looking forward to trying that out. Like I said, we've got lovely weather today and tomorrow. I think it's 18 degrees Celsius tomorrow. So we're going to go out and do a lovely shoot somewhere. I'll have Kerry filming me using it and things like that. So stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for watching the videos on the 17 to 35. Really appreciate your support there. Apart from that, I'll see you all in the next video. happy 4th of July, everyone, or like whatever you say it, Independence Day. Hope you have a great rest of the evening for our American users. And apart from that, guys, I'll see you all for the next video. G'day, everyone.